Ready Player One is a crowd-pleasing, casual celebration of nostalgia and pop culture, and how they both can bring people together in friendship and love. It's a romantic adventure movie, and a marvel of studio property crossover not seen since Roger Rabbit. Half live action, half CGI motion capture animation, it's jam-packed with hundreds, if not thousands, of references and Easter eggs, spanning from 80s movies to modern video games. Every frame is so dense, there is so much going on. Beyond all the spectacle, Ready Player One's strength is in its smaller moments. A classic boy meets girl story with a futuristic twist. The group character interactions are quite enjoyable. The visual effects are impressive. The 80s music is catchy. There are plenty of surprises. And the film has whimsy and heart. It's nice to see Steven Spielberg having fun again, and I enjoyed it. Though, the action can sometimes devolve into a giant mess. The plot is predictable and convenient. Certain elements are overexplained. There's a lack of standout moments for side characters. Energy levels and tension are mild, and book readers may hate this adaptation. This review will contain spoilers for Acts 1 and 2. A timestamp for my star rating and pros cons chart is in the video description. Ready Player One is set in Columbus, Ohio during the year 2045. The Earth is in a neglected state of shambles and disrepair, and instead of working to find solutions, everyone escapes on a daily basis into a virtual reality video game world called the Oasis. There, you can be anyone or do anything your heart desires. A concept that is particularly appealing to Wade Watts, a young 19-year-old living with his aunt and her abusive boyfriend in the Stacks, a slum full of vertically stacked trailer homes. Wade lives a lonely life, scrounging for coin in the game world, except for the times when he virtually hangs out with his online friend, Aech. One day, the Oasis's creator, James Halliday, passed away, and he offered gamers the opportunity of a lifetime. Be the first to complete 3 challenges, retrieving 3 keys, and you'll unlock the ultimate Easter egg prize. The winner will become the sole owner of the Oasis, and a trillionaire overnight. It's been 5 years since Halliday's contest began, and Wade and his friend soon become the first gamers to complete one of Halliday's challenges, using knowledge from his personal life. This draws the attention of a feisty, cute girl gamer, Art3mis and IOI, Innovative Online Industries, a greedy internet service provider obsessed with profiting through Oasis advertising and microtransactions. IOI has an army of indebted workers and employees called Sixers, hustling around the clock to solve Halliday's challenges. When IOI's CEO, Sorrento, hears that some slumdog is closer to winning this trillion-dollar opportunity than he is, he'll stop at nothing to make sure that doesn't happen. Can Wade and his new friends solve the 3 challenges? What value will they find in Halliday's past? And can they survive the real-world threat of IOI? That's a lot of setup. Ready Player One is already 2 hours and 20 minutes long, and in order to communicate all that exposition as efficiently and clearly as possible, the film has what seemed like 10 minutes of continuous narration from Wade Watts. It's a massive information dump over striking imagery, telling the state of the world and how Wade feels about it and his friend Aech, instead of letting the visuals speak for themselves. Just present the reality and trust that the viewer will catch on to the state of the world. Most of the subjects Wade was talking about were pretty self-explanatory in the moment, or would be explained in later scenes. I wanted to enjoy the daily atmosphere of the Stacks, hearing the bustling of the trailer park activity, the calm of his VR van, then feel the rush of entering the Oasis for the first time with all the sights and sounds. But Wade kept talking over everything. No, I get what the filmmakers were going for. This is my life. Narration is a nostalgic approach that adds more personality and insight early on, but I'd have preferred if the narration was condensed to the bare essentials. For example, say, "This is the Oasis." Then let the images and the music take over for a couple of minutes and awe me. Anything that is Wade's personal opinion is welcome, as well as exciting general statements like, you can do anything, be anyone. But you can surf the pyramids is unnecessary because it's describing what I'm currently looking at. It would be great to just hear the pyramids whooshing by, the cool wind, the slush of the snowboards, and the elated distant woohoos! During the introduction scene for Aech, Wade's best friend, Wade's narration is telling me about death matches and putting all your loot on the line for powerful artifacts. Right afterwards, Wade calls Aech to have an in-movie conversation. Why not move some of this narration information into that conversation between Wade and Aech so that the exposition is less force-fed and we're devoting more time to setting up their friendship? Especially since, as soon as the narration segment is over, the movie throws us straight into a long action scene, despite the film not giving me enough time to care about the characters beforehand, which undercut my investment in the opening race. All right, this is the way it is. Hope you were paying attention. Race time! In addition to not getting to know Aech very well at the beginning of the movie, Ready Player One only commits the bare minimum of screen time to Wade's aunt and her abusive boyfriend. The scene in which the boyfriend strikes Wade was done effectively enough to make me care, and it was about to be an emotional moment when Wade Watts starts narrating again, commenting on the superhero alliteration in his name, similar to Peter Parker or Bruce Banner. This took away from the impact. That kind of quirky trivia would have been better as part of the opening narration, or as a funny, endearing moment between Wade and Art3mis later on, if the abuse scene had remained silent, with Wade on the floor. Then transition to Wade peering out his bedroom window to the horizon, only to have it blocked by a giant video billboard. This could have been a beautiful, relatable bit of quiet reflection, like a depressing version of Luke looking over the binary sunset. Also, while the scenes included were sufficient to get an idea of Wade's life, I would have liked a little more. Was Wade unemployed? Skipping school? Is the Oasis all he does? What does his aunt think of that? What would his parents have thought of that? What kind of people were his parents? Does Wade have any memories about them that he clings onto? Anyway, no time for that. Straight into the first key challenge. A huge, booby-trapped race through a virtual New York City. It is breathtaking and kinetic. Initially. Over time, the low-angle cinematography combined with the one-shot long takes while everything was flying around everywhere became a bit disorienting to watch. Perhaps CGI is just too liberating to resist staging such elaborate spectacle, but just because you can do so many one-shot sequences, does that mean you should? I preferred the real-world action because Mr. Spielberg had to take his time and consider where he wanted to put the camera. In the game world, it's like, I'll put it everywhere! We're gonna catch all the best action without cutting! Let me just say, cutting ain't so bad. It gets a bum rap sometimes. Having stable cameras allows the moving subjects to stand out more and gives the viewer an anchored perspective. When the camera is moving along with the action, I have to adjust to a shifting position and the moving subjects, not to mention motion blur and a shaky camera effect. On top of that, the low angle behind the car's bumpers means that my view of the track is constantly half obscured until the car abruptly swerves out of the way and more junk comes flying at my face. Don't get me wrong. It's great to show off for a brief segment or two, but when the whole action scene is littered with these long takes, I feel like I'm putting in as much work as the filmmakers to try and sort out all the chaos, instead of just being able to enjoy the carefully plotted sequence of shots. For example, at one point, the T-Rex from Jurassic Park appears on the track, but there is so much debris, movement, and loud noises already, with the camera swinging underneath the cars, that her entrance barely registers. Cutting and pacing would do wonders here. Insert a brief lull in the action, have the track calm down, and Wade find his bearings. Wade would crack a, "this isn't so bad," kind of smile, Then the T-Rex comes roaring into his path. Editing can communicate so much more tension, surprise, and character reaction, getting the audience more invested in the action than constant swirling around beneath the cars can. I would have preferred if the race had only started with an impressive long take, then switched to more traditional editing for the second half. When so many shots are like this, it stops being special and starts being sensory overload. Focus! Maybe this approach to the race will grow on me during future viewings. Ready Player One finally picked up for me once Wade meets Art3mis, taking her back to Aech's workshop. Here, Wade is a nervous, hormone-crazy wreck, and Art3mis shows him nonchalant gratitude while being impressed by his James Halliday trivia knowledge. And Aech gives Wade a friendly hard time about his obvious crush on Art3mis. She could be a 300-pound man for all you know. The three of them have great chemistry together, and Art3mis in particular breathes some attitude and life into the movie. Her actress, Olivia Cooke, whom I really liked in the twistedly good Bates Motel, is able to balance a cool, tough persona and a geeky playfulness well, charmingly messing with the smitten Wade, while also starting to like him herself. This is what the movie was rushing towards. The heart of Ready Player One is Wade's relationships with Art3mis and with James Halliday, the deceased owner of the Oasis. The rest of the movie's plot is structured around solving riddles from Halliday's past to unlock, then complete, the next two challenges. The story is structured around the budding romance between Wade and Art3mis, as well as learning about James Halliday's past. When the contest first began, Halliday left a huge video library of all of his memories, along with archives of his favorite movies and video games. Growing up a child of the 80s, a lot of the pop culture that Halliday loved as a kid was carried over into the Oasis, influencing a whole new generation. Now, these archives, curated by an amusing robo-butler, offer a limitless glimpse into Halliday's mind. Played enchantingly by Mark Rylance, the BFG, James Halliday is a meek man of genius, simple yet enthusiastic in his words, avoiding eye contact with others, and not understanding the selfish business nature of his peers. There's a bright-eyed, naive innocence and insecure introversion about Halliday that makes him easy to love, but not easy to be around. Simon Pegg, sporting an American accent, plays Ogden Morrow, Halliday's one best friend, who grows frustrated with his resistance to change. Halliday is simultaneously a massive success story and a personally tragic figure. And Wade is obsessed with him for reasons he's not fully aware of. I loved how Halliday was sort of a ghost of Christmas future in this movie. It is revealed early on that in order to solve his challenges and riddles, gamers must delve into Halliday's past, discovering his greatest regrets. Halliday isn't just choosing a successor. He's trying to find someone like himself and save him or her from making the same mistakes that he did. There's a bit of a Christmas Carol structure beneath Ready Player One's surface. It's good stuff. Like Halliday, Wade is a loner. He doesn't run with a clan of friends and earns his money in the game by playing it safe and scooping up coins from others' misfortune. Wade is afraid to stick his own neck out because in the Oasis, though a death won't kill you in the real world, it will reset years of leveling, money, items, and achievements back down to zero. As were humorously and then heartbreakingly shown in the beginning of the film, many people have poured their whole real lives into their digital avatars and have a strong response when all that work is lost forever. Art3mis is the girl worth taking risks for. She convinces Wade to make leaps of faith, and he shares with her a caring soul, helping her to forget about real-world problems. Once Wade and Art3mis meet, the film mellows out. allowing the characters time to casually bond and interact, like a futuristic John Hughes teenage comedy. One of my favorite scenes was actually Art3mis and Wade's first dance together. Great, nervous chemistry, vivid colored lighting, cool beats, and funky choreography. Things also get kinda hot and heavy. Though, Art3mis values the real world more than the game world, worrying that Wade might be falling in love with her game persona, not her real-life self. She also has an emotional history with innovative online industries, and is determined to stop them from gaining control of the Oasis. Enter Sorrento, head of IOI, Ben Mendelsohn, in another villain role, though given much more to do than in The Dark Knight Rises or Rogue One. He even has his own gaming chair and bizarro Superman avatar, getting in on the virtual action. Sorrento has a decent backstory, never understanding the appeal of games and pop culture. He was always more excited by business and profits, winning, which Halliday paid him no mind for. He's a figurehead for the film's dystopian reality. At the company board meeting, Sorrento happily reveals that once they own the Oasis, IOI will be able to fill roughly 80% of the gamer's peripheral vision with pop-up ads before inducing seizures. Sorrento threatens to completely dilute Halliday's safe haven. The process has already begun, as IOI loans out in-game currency for people to make digital loot and artifact purchases they can't actually afford. Then, IOI rounds up those that can't pay them back into internment loyalty pods, imprisoning them and forcing them to mine the Oasis for more virtual goodies, until their debt to the company is paid. This generates unheard of profit margins. Indentured servitude to online marketing corporations. Sick stuff. Did I mention this movie is upbeat? Ready Player One doesn't let this terrifying future ruin the mood. The problems of the outside world are not addressed, and I'm left wondering what exactly happened. I remember a funny line about the great corn syrup crisis, but what in the world needs fixing? It really doesn't matter to the story, I suppose. Everything is centered on Wade finding a social life. Speaking of which, two more gamers, Sho and Daito, join Wade's quest to find the keys. Was there an introduction scene to them at all? All I remember is Wade's narration saying that they were friends of Aech. I wish that Sho and Daito had had a scene meeting Wade for the first time. 1 second, they aren't part of the group at all. Then suddenly, they're all five buddy-buddy and going on the second task together. Sho and Daito are really lacking presence in the first half. I enjoyed them for the rest of the movie, but they kinda came out of nowhere. And their personalities and quirks are not fleshed out enough early on to pay off later. Instead, the film adds a substantial role for TJ Miller as IROC, a gamer for hire, working with Sorrento to reset Wade's progress. TJ Miller has had some bad press lately, which I assume is why he hasn't been featured in any trailers despite having a decent chunk of screen time. In Ready Player One, like it or dislike it, he does his usual shtick, going on amusing verbal rabbit trails and non sequiturs, attempting to present himself with a proud, intellectual, sophisticated facade while being a bumbling everyman. It's the same character that he's played in Silicon Valley or Office Christmas Party, except repurposed into a villain. A lot of people in my audience laughed quite a bit at him. I did a few times too. I like his humor, though still a weird choice. Another off-putting thing was the lack of tension. I really cared for the characters, but I didn't have a sense that they were ever in any real danger. At one point, tons of IOI guards surrounded Wade and Art3mis, inflicting many laser wounds on our heroes. But the couple just takes light cover and picks a few of them off with one shot each. Okay, I could clearly see that Wade and Art3mis had holographic shields on, which the IOI guys probably lacked. Still, a shot or two of the character's shield percentage bars going down with each hit would have added context and upped the stakes. Likewise, Ready Player One's casual, romantic comedy, character-focused editing style comes with a trade-off to energy and urgency. The movie lacks a little oomph and gusto. Most of the film has a we're just hanging out kind of vibe. Admittedly, I suspect that's how James Halliday would have wanted it. On top of that, there are many plot conveniences, with characters showing up in the real world with perfect timing, or Sorrento leaving his office unlocked and unguarded right above the prisoner loyalist pods. And beyond the opening narration, there's a scene in which Wade way over-explains a plan that the heroes were already executing. This was purely for the audience. But the scene prior had clearly, unmistakably communicated what was going on visually. I find it hard to imagine anyone would be that confused by it that they would need such an extensive post-explanation. All of these aspects didn't ruin the movie for me, but for some, they might. So I bring it up. All right, now for the real reason everyone wants to see this movie. Ready Player One is the ultimate mashup of pop culture movie and video game references. It is truly impressive how many intellectual properties Spielberg and Warner Brothers were able to get from other studios. Star Wars X-Wings, Alien, Jurassic Park, Overwatch, Battletoads, Space Invaders, Minecraft, Sonic the Hedgehog, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Bill and Ted, Last Action Hero, Iron Giant, Speed Racer, Looney Tunes, Spaceballs, Hello Kitty, King Kong, Batman, Back to the Future, and so many more that I dare not spoil. I saw the Ninja Turtles on the battlefield, though they were the Michael Bay ones. I gave the screen a confused palm shrug. Come on, Paramount! I guess their CGI models were still on file. Simple drag and drop. Additionally, there are an untold amount of classic movie and game posters and props littered all over the Oasis. The computer animators had a field day that'll take many viewings to sort out. My friend told me that I missed the sign for Mayor Goldie Wilson. Ah, like the sound of that. Okay. Believe it or not, I was taking all of this nostalgia in stride, concentrating on the movie, not letting it get a hold of me. Like, that's pretty cool. And you won't believe the one that broke me. Out of all of the references, the one that finally got me to react like an excited little fanboy was seeing Wade walk past the Arkham Knight in the lobby. I perked up, pointed, and exclaimed like a little kid, "Look!" My friend stared at me like I was crazy, and I got a few glances from the TJ Miller fans too. I never realized how much I love the Batman Arkham games until that moment. Later, my friend said, "There's Harley Quinn." I shrugged. She's to be expected. But the Arkham frickin' Knight? I thought he was about to throw down with Wade in the lobby. Then, there is a surprise second challenge, totally different than in the book. It's a great one that I won't spoil, and our whole audience was laughing and loving it. This is where Spielberg was having the most fun with a property he holds dear, and it was infectious. More specific references and humor like this would have been awesome. Totally worth the price of admission to me. During this sequence, I began to realize how realistic and detailed the CGI game characters could look with proper blending techniques and photo references. I'm assuming those environments were scanned into the computer from real-life photography, and it shows. Best visual effects in the movie, hands down. To top it all off, there's a whimsical musical score from Alan Silvestri. Considering the DeLorean was heavily featured, I began to worry that Mr. Silvestri wasn't going to be allowed by Universal this rare opportunity to reprise his famous Back to the Future theme. Thankfully, they picked a great tribute spot to do so, though I do wish the full theme had kicked in during the finale of the race. Now, I had two book readers with me that pointed out many substantial changes, including when the real-life identities of Wade's friends are revealed, Wade's early struggles being missing, certain characters' fates being different, and completely leaving out post-challenge challenges. Apparently, in the book, each key opened a separate gate with another extensive challenge in order to unlock the next riddle. In the movie, all they need to do is get the key, and then the next clue is just gifted to them. The ending's location is completely altered too. If you're a book purist, proceed with caution. You may not like this at all. Though my friends did say that they enjoyed the changes, and liked that it was different from the book. Your mileage may vary. All of this culminates in an epic video game battle. It is grand, with exciting surprises, including a hilarious use of the PG-13's one F word. Oh, I forgot to mention, this is not a Marvel Studios PG-13. There's shits everywhere, and an extended scene of partial nudity. Anyway, I was disappointed that the battle lacked an air assault, after the movie teased so many iconic spaceships and cruisers earlier. Also, I wish that there were more short vignettes showing off the video game characters using their special abilities on the battlefield. Overwatch characters appear prominently in the film, but there's no mercy res, with the Sixers being like, oh crap. No characters getting behind a Reinhardt shield to protect themselves, no tracer bombs, and toodaloo! These things might be happening in the background, and maybe you can find them on the Blu-ray with a microscope, but it would have been fun to see some more classic film and game stars have close-up moments to shine. My friend mentioned that the Ghostbusters were in the novel, and I couldn't help but imagine how much fun it would have been to see 4 gamers dressed up like them crossing the streams to try and take down the evil force field. As the battle is now, it's just one huge army colliding with another, with more low-angle drive-bys obscuring the ground-level action. Though, Iron Giant has his day in the sun, and it's all intercut with an exciting live-action chase and viewer reactions. After all of this, Spielberg doesn't forget what the movie is really about, bringing things back down to a personal level, and almost making me teary-eyed. If there were only a little less cross-cutting, ironically. I almost wish that they had pulled the trigger on a much bolder ending. All of these elements aligning to deliver an important life lesson, just as it's too late. But the current ending is better for general audiences who just want to have a good time. While Ready Player One takes a bit to get going, explains too much, has plot contrivances, a casual vibe, underdeveloped real world, and a predictable outcome, the movie ultimately won me over with charming friend dynamics, a love story, gorgeous visuals, countless pop culture references, and a solid, touching, character-focused structure. It isn't about winning, it's about playing the game. I give Ready Player One 3.5 out of 5 stars. While I didn't leave the theater really excited, I really enjoyed it in a kind of quaint way. It has some very nice meaning to it beneath the surface, and it's honestly a fun time. Book people, be wary. Take care. Of IOI. Looks a lot like LOL. You type it out. Can they survive the real life threats of LOL? Excuse me. Every frame is so dense. Ready Player was shoot. This is the second paragraph, man. You're doing well. Keep it up. Thanks. Stop it. It's good stuff. How many times I gotta say? It's good stuff. Maybe not great, but it's good. Wade is a loner. A rebel. They didn't do a Pee-wee weapon. They didn't do a Pee-wee reference. Weapons? I'm a loner, Donnie. A rebel. Wade's afraid. That rhymes. Dear God. I got a lot of things in here that rhymes. I had that conversation, narration crap. Oasis and basis. Oh, no. I didn't even realize this while writing it. It's fine. Nobody's gonna notice. Anyway, Wade's afraid. Wade is afraid. Frick, now I can't read it. It's just so stupid. Ben Mendelsohn. Is it Mendelsohn? It is. You spelled it wrong, but it is. Jing Jing 500. Sho Daito. That rhymes too. Frick. Likewise. Am I sinking in my chair? Oh, it doesn't feel good. There's shits everywhere. Shit everywhere. All the walls. There's nothing but shit. Sorry, I don't usually curse. It's a PG-13 movie. I'm allowed to curse in the review. Focus. You gotta get this review out by Christmas.